Good morning and welcome back to Planet Althistory. Today we are going to discuss what if Belgium never got independence. Belgium, Belgium, Belgium. Belgium is a very funny country. Belgium holds various world records, one of them being the tallest waffle tower, the longest traffic jam of 1,275 kilometers, and also the most important record, the longest period of time without a government. Belgium had that record in 2010-2011, when it had no government for 589 days. And it broke it in 2020, when it had no government for 652 days. What a record indeed. The country itself is also something one could not define as a nation state. Belgium has three different official languages. Luxembourg used to have the province de Luxembourg, and Luxembourgish is still sometimes spoken on the border. And there are secessionist movements in Belgium. The strongest are in Flanders, while Wallonia is mostly pro-Belgian. The German community also has their own government, and Brussels is basically its own thing. While it lies within Flanders, French is mostly spoken, and some Flemish people, they consider it an oil leak. So with that out of the window, let's discuss who owned Belgium before it got its independence. And that was the Netherlands, and before that it was Austria. The Austrian influence as well as the Spanish influence prior to it can be seen by the fact that most people in Belgium used to be Catholic and not Protestants, unlike the Dutch. Religious divisions used to play a much bigger role back in the day than a linguistic division even. Later, after the Congress of Vienna, the Netherlands established the so-called United Kingdom of the Netherlands, but the Dutch monarchs, they were very unpopular in Belgium. The Belgians had far too many problems with the Dutch rule, such as the underrepresentation, the high amount of people that were recruited to the army, the lack of freedom, the bad reforms in education, the trade policy, the linguistic reforms, etc. The Dutch king also didn't act fast enough, and finally, when he decided to do something about it in Belgium, the French, they already intervened. But what if all of that changed? What if Belgium never got independent? Let's discuss which point of divergence would have been the best. Let's say that William I would intervene way earlier with his army, and the 10 days campaign would start earlier, or the French would just decide to not intervene for whatever reason. The revolution of 1830 would probably be crushed, and order would be restored. However, this would not be the case for very long. During the revolutions of 1848, Belgium would once more rebel, and I'm sure that this time around, Belgium would not only also get Luxembourg, but also Limburg and other places that belong to the Netherlands. With that said, the Dutch colonies could also face trouble, and thus Belgium would get independence, and the Dutch would have lost way more than in OTL. Let's say that the Dutch would have a better economy for whatever reason, and as a result, less rich people would be able to support the revolution, making it questionable whether the revolution would happen in 1830. It would just be postponed and happen in 1848 anyway. The only option I could see that would have been consistent and even let the United Kingdom of the Netherlands survive past 1848 would be that William I accepts the term of accommodation his son William II had negotiated in 1830. This means that Belgium would not gain independence and Belgium would become autonomous. Now, I don't know exactly what this Belgium would look like, but probably in this timeline it would be referred to as the Southern Provinces or the Dutch South. After William I's death, William II would enjoy popularity in Belgium and also Luxembourg, because in OTL he was already fairly popular and seen as a moderate and compromising ruler. He was blackmailed in the past due to his alleged bisexuality, but his reign wasn't that long. However, in this new alternate timeline, William II may probably make more reforms, but could also probably push certain policies in favor of the Dutch language, for instance. Yes, some Belgians, they could be angry, but it would, after a couple of generations, just be accepted. Luxembourg in this timeline would be a bit bigger and more francophone as well. The francophone part of Luxembourg was bigger than the Luxembourgish speaking part, and over the time, Luxembourgish may unfortunately disappear. What's up, guys? Sorry for the little interruption, but I'm sure you have noticed that on my channel I have many videos that are scheduled for like 1 week, 2 weeks, or even 3 weeks. If you are really impatient, if you can really not hold yourself, and if you really must see these videos, please subscribe on my Patreon. There are various options which you can take. I'm sure you will find the most adequate option for yourself. And also please go down, check the links below for my Facebook page and also for my TikTok as well as for my Twitter account. And now let's go back to the alternate history video. Before the Franco-Prussian War would happen, it may still be unlikely that the Netherlands would sell Luxembourg to France, and probably most of the things as in OTL would happen in here as well, more or less. There would be a few changes in the colonial policies with more manpower resources and the Dutch-speaking people to deploy. The colonial administrations, they could be bigger, and Indonesia could be faster integrated within the United Kingdom of the Netherlands. Moreover, the Netherlands could probably get a colony in West Africa and could perhaps even get a share in South Africa. The reason why the Dutch gave up their possessions in West Africa was because they needed a treaty with Britain and had to focus their resources on the part of Indonesia. With more resources to their disposition, the Dutch would not go empty-handed from the Conference of Berlin, and Congo? Well, Angola would probably be way bigger, and Portugal and Britain, they would conclude a free trade treaty, while French Congo could also be expanded and Katanga may become British in this timeline. Would the Dutch actually keep the same mentality when it comes to the ruling of their colonies as in OGL? Probably not. The Dutch kings and queens would have noticed how William II's policies worked to their favor and would thus give gradual autonomy to their colonies as well, and maybe give more power to local elites in Indonesia and the African possessions. Couple this with the fact that they have more people in the army, and it would be more complicated for the colonies to just rebel, unlike OTL where the Dutch suffered a humiliating defeat against Indonesia. But would it actually come to a similar situation as in OTL with World War I or World War II? The Schlieffen Plan may be butterflied away. The Dutch would never survive alone against the Germans, that's true. But with their bigger colonial empire, more people and somewhat of a unity, the Germans would during World War I not just attack Belgium. This means that the UK may actually never even participate in World War I, and World War I could end in a German victory. Minor changes in Western Europe would be made. Some colonies, they would be given to Germany as well, but Eastern Europe would become just totally different. It's possible that the Bolsheviks, they would not rule over Russia, or maybe they would, because Germany would actually not be desperate enough to release Lenin, but Russia would very well become a republic ruled by an unpopular Kerensky until eventually more extremist forces would rule over Russia, and thus maybe some Bolsheviks could end up ruling over Russia, or maybe some far-right forces. That's also a possibility in here. The only possible challenge the Dutch could be facing would be Japan. But in this alternate war, a Pacific war, the Dutch and the US, they would end up becoming allies and beat the Japanese. The decolonization process would be more gradual and smoother, and the Dutch could have something similar to a Commonwealth. Unfortunately for them, they would be outclassed by the Germans, and would need to adjust themselves to a Pax Germanica. And that's where we leave it for now.